Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Elder.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
You know, I shouldn't be here. It's not my time to say anything. And these days, because I've retired, I'm no longer here or the podium. Today's lesson is something to be like the salt has lost its flavor or savior. Any way you put it, the salt have lost. But I'm not here to talk about the salt and it's losing the flavor or flavor, whatever it is. I'm here to say something that I've said before. I think I've said it more than once. But if this was an ordinary person saying or making the statement, I would have let it go. But this statement is made by the leader of the people in purple. And I know everyone would say they saw it on the internet. And it was a leader that said it. So this is another leader that's telling you the truth. So let it be known. Number one, you cannot be an Israelite and be called a bishop. That means if you're a bishop, you're a Christian. Because a bishop is part of Paul's law. You have to understand the Bible before you claim to be an Israelite. And if you don't understand the Bible, you can't be an Israelite. So the bishop, who says he's an Israelite, is doing exactly like what the Christians do. And I'm trying to clear that up now. He took one verse, one line, Jeremiah 20, 14th verse. If you read it, you would know what it says. I'm not going to read it yet, but you can read it if you want. But that verse says that Jeremiah don't want to keep up his birthday. He cursed the womb that made him. Everything that's crazy about his birth, his date. Let me get to that. I hope I don't take too much time because it's not my turn to do a lesson. I know the people are waiting, but I got all of these things to read and to let you say. Even in Job also said it. If you read Job, the 30th, Job 3 rather, it says, after this opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born. Is that some sort of a doctrine? I remember when the Hebrew Israelites told me that I should have, I don't have enough beard. I should have beard. And I told them, show me which part of the Bible that says I should have a beard. There's nowhere in the Bible when it says you should have a beard. But I also reminded them there was no gillet. When all men had beards, so the Bible says how to train or use your beard, how to cut your beard. That's what the Bible says. But not that you should have a beard. And I mentioned Elijah, they call him a bald head. And I'm not from Jamaica, that's what they call people in Jamaica, bald head. And Elijah was one of the greatest prophets ever. So let's just think about all these things that have been spreading around on the internet. And people are picking it up and say, we're here leaders that are saying it. Let me tell you something. There seems to be something that we don't understand. This nation speaks the truth. This nation believes in what the Bible says. The Bible never talks about love. The Bible says it's the truth that's going to make you free. And when you're forming organizations with crowds, people to march and doing all these things, is when you're preparing them to fight. I was in the military. I don't know what it is. So you're preparing people to fight. So who would be the enemy? I'm telling you, my people, we have the greatest God on our side because our army is extremely spiritual. We don't need to march down the street and march. We don't need to do that because we have the God of Israel on our side. And this is a spiritual battle. It's not a physical one. We can't go against the establishment. We can't fight against America or Donald Trump. Oh, we can't do that. But we can serve our God and get him on our side. And that's what's most important. We don't need to be in the street to march so that we can have vengeance. We don't need that. So before I would take all that time to go through everything that I have, I just want to make one point clear. I'm going to go to the book of Jeremiah, and I'm going to read something to you. It says, Jeremiah 20 in the first verse, "Now Pashur, the son of Immer the priest, who was also chief governor." You know, there was a time when I couldn't read Jeremiah because Jeremiah is my teacher. And I couldn't read him because Jeremiah taught me. Without Jeremiah, I would not have known anything in this Bible. So let me just, start going further, let me just explain what is here. "Now Pashur, the son of Immer the priest, who was also chief governor in the house of the Lord, heard that Jeremiah prophesied these things. Then Pashur smote." I want you to listen very carefully. Jeremiah the prophet, Pashur smote Jeremiah. I know you understand what that means. Jeremiah the prophet, and put him in the stocks that were in the high gate of Benjamin, which was by the house of the Lord. I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to continue. "And it came to pass on the morrow that Pashur brought forth Jeremiah out of the stocks. Then said Jeremiah unto him, The Lord hath not done call thy name Pashur, but Megor-Mishashbib. For thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will make thee a terror to thyself, and all that thy friends that day shall fall by the sword of their enemies." How many times you would be like me and feel you wish that the day you were born was so terrible? Maybe none of you would have that, because none of you would be like me. I suffered a lot, and sometimes you think, curse the day that I was born, because all the things, if you really suffered all of these things that are happening to you. Only trouble is I couldn't curse the day that I was born because I had to do this job. That is very difficult to do, but I have to do it. Even Job had lost everything, and his wife said, curse God, and died. Couldn't do it because it's a job to be done. Remember what I read, what Jeremiah was smote, put in a dungeon. You know the story about him. But because of all of that, this is what he said. Cursed be, the 14th verse said, and this is what they quote. Jeremiah 20:14, do not keep any birthdays. Could you imagine that? A leader is telling by reading one verse and saying don't keep any birthday, and this is the verse he's read. Cursed be the day wherein I was born. Let not the day wherein my mother bare me be blessed. So you take that and you say, keep no birthday, without understanding the scriptures. This is personal. Jeremiah went through hell, thrown in the dungeon, smote. All these days, the people smote him. Remember the story, what it says, even in the first chapter of Jeremiah. God is warning him about the people, his own people, and saying, don't worry. Don't worry about them. And because Jeremiah said that, like Job, he says, don't keep no birthday. Let me tell you about your birthday, in case you don't know. I want all of you to keep on celebrating your birthday the way Israelites do, and I'm not going to say it here, because every time I say something, they take it, and they run with it. But you as Israelites know exactly how to keep up the date of your birth and how you do it. Let me tell you why you should thank the God of Israel for that day. As a matter of fact, let me just read again the 21st. Let me get to that before I give you the real answer. How many minutes I have? The son of Messiah, the priest, saying, inquire, pray ye of the Lord for us, for Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, maketh war against us. If so be, the Lord will deal with us according to all the wondrous works that he may go up for. In other words, problems. Problems. So you wished at that day that you were born, that you weren't born. You want to curse the day that you were born. It is not a doctrine for Israel. It is not a doctrine. It's a personal difficulty, problems that the people are going through. Understand it. Let me tell you why you should thank the God of Israel. There's a man that God made from the dust of the ground. He made that man full of love and placed him in a garden. And he saw that the man was lonely, and he took the life of the man, which is the fifth rib. You'll find it if you're in the military, you know where to stab and where to turn. He took that fifth rib, not the rib as you understand it, but I'm not going to go into that because they're waiting. But he took that life out of that man and placed it in the woman. And the woman disobeyed the law, because we don't know what God's plan was. But the woman disobeyed the law and ate from the fruit, and it wasn't the fruit. There is a person by the name of Steve Harvey, you know him. He's in Family Feud, I think it's called. Yes. And there was a question, and the question was asked, what fruit was in the garden? And the right answer was apple, which is the wrong answer, because there was no fruit in the garden. But I'm not going to get into that. I see Elder Michael is looking at me. And what happened? The woman went against the God of Israel, even though it appears to be a curse, it was a blessing, because that's why we're here, to replenish the earth. Let me play an actor and show you how it is. I've said it so many times, but I want for you to understand clearly why we celebrate. The God of Israel put the first firmament, the very first firmament, 70% of that in your body. You know what is the first firmament? Yes, water. Put the first ferment, 70% of that in your body. and put over 40 million sperms. Just imagine. You can see them swimming. Just say, make sure you're on the beach or somewhere where there's a river. And the woman is sitting there in the banks of the river with one egg and having fun with that one egg, trying to get one sperm of that 40 plus million. And she's on the bank of that river and trying to get, this is how the God of Israel works. You remember, the first firmament, 70% of water is in that. Could you imagine? And the sperms are swimming, 70%, your whole body is full of water. Only the God of Israel can do that. And put millions of sperm to swim and give the woman one egg to catch one sperm. Sometimes they catch 2, 3 sperms. And a child is conceived. Could you imagine that? No one seemed to understand when I say that the child belongs to the man, because the man took the seed and planted it. But the woman loved the child because she bore it. The God of Israel is extremely smart. He even spoke about the barren woman, how much she's been loved. But we have to understand this whole thing about remembering the day of your birth and the power of the God of Israel have given both man and woman. You plant the seed, then you watch the seed grow and become like you. And you wonder, how did this happen? And they say, God made man. So am I a God? Are you seeing? Are you seeing my point? You are also making man. But you're not making man from the dust of the ground. You're making man by the companion that the God of Israel has provided for us. So it is not a little story. It is something huge when you look at it as an Israelite. As an Israelite. When you're looking at it as an Israelite, and you are seeing our Father, the Ancient of Days, how he have prepared the man and how he prepared the woman, and you look at how it's all done, and then he says, I want for you to number your days. Psalm 90. I don't have time to read it, so you can read it. Get your Bible and read Psalm 90. It says to number your days. So here we go. After all of this have done, the God of Israel says, number your days. I brought a lot of proof that I can't really read today because I already have taken so much time to prove the point, but we know as Israelite from the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministry how we celebrate birthdays. We know when you become a man at 20. Not at 30 during Jesus' time, that was the Romans. And not now, in 18, but 20. And it wasn't 21. Because 21 is 3 cycles. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm not giving anything away here. Just so that you would understand that the God of Israel said that we should number our days. If he give you 15 years like he gave somebody I know, Hezekiah, how would he understand it? I give you 15 years, so don't conquer. You're not an Ethiopian. Only in Ethiopia they don't remember birthdays, they don't know years, they don't know nothing. Only in Ethiopia. And Ethiopia is not Israel. Like some people might want to say about Sheba and all of that, it's all a lie. Ethiopia is not Israel, never could be. It's the worst enemy for Israel. And that's why they don't remember days. But the God of Israel says that we should remember our days. I can't read all the scripture, but I give you them for you to read. So you can read it now, or you can read it when you get home. Look how many scriptures I have here, but I see I can't do it because I have to allow the young people to come up to do the lessons. There's no law that says you can't keep your birthday. Remember what has been said in Jeremiah 20. He was suffering. And the day, remember all the good things, they put him in the dungeon. It was an Ethiopian that asked to take him out. He was suffering. If you know the story of Jeremiah, my teacher, if you know his story, you would understand why he would say what he said in Jeremiah 20:14. Job said the same thing, and I don't have to tell you about Job. When his wife looked at him, she said, damn it, curse God and die. Look at you. Job even says, I don't want. It is not a law. And it's coming from my mouth, and if it comes from my mouth, it is not a law. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
Welcome again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, where the truth is dominant. And we are here. I am Elder Michael, and I have my favorite brother, or one of my favorite brothers, I should say, Joab, who is going to enlighten you today regarding the salt of the earth. And what is the question, Joab, that we have to address today?
So today's question is, has the salt lost its flavor? Now, begin by clarifying something. This isn't the salt we're talking about.
But this is good quality salt. I love this.
Yeah, that's not the salt we're talking about, okay? So, the salt that we're really talking about, you could find it in Matthew 5. So
Matthew chapter 5. Let's go there.
You want the honors of reading?
Certainly, I can read Matthew 5 if I could find it. Let's see.
While he's finding that,
Where do you want me to start?
it's all right, let's take your time, but
Okay.
how's everybody feel about the weather outside? I mean, it's been quite hot for the last week. I mean,
Loving it, great for swimming.
lovely? Personally, it's too hot for me. It's too hot. I don't know about you guys. Well, anybody want to say anything? No? It's hot? Yeah, I agree with you guys. Well, I believe Canada's playing World Cup right now, so we'll see how that goes. Honestly, I don't really know how they're going to do. I mean, not too much of a soccer person myself, but you found your scriptures?
I just bet on it, that's all. Yeah, so Matthew chapter 5, where do you want me to begin?
Let's at the start, chapter 5.
Okay, and seeing the multitude, he went up into a mountain. Now, let me just say this. Before we start with that, let us backtrack a little bit and go to Matthew chapter 4 and read from 23. The rationale behind that is, it says, and seeing the multitude, he went up into a mountain, but we don't know who it is. So let us see. 23, chapter 4. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. Now we know who we're talking about. We're speaking about the Christ. And his fame went throughout all Syria, and they brought unto him all sick people that were taken in divers diseases and torments, and those which were possessed with devils, and those which had the palsy, and he healed them. Wow, that's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, he sounds pretty popular.
Yes, 25. And they followed him, great multitudes of people from Galilee, and from Decapolis, and from Jerusalem, and from Judea, and from beyond Jordan.
So yeah, he's pretty popular.
Very popular. Now let's see what happened in verse 5. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. And when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. I don't see anything about the love here. Oh,
No.
okay, let's keep going then. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. See that? Not only are they saying it against you, meaning, and the you here, all of what he is addressing here are, as it says in chapter 5, verse 1, the disciples. Who are the disciples? The Israelites. Okay? He's talking about the Israelites. Verse 12. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. He's not saying we will go to heaven. Your reward is great in heaven. Case closed. For so persecute they the prophets which were before you.
Careful with this next verse.
Yes, I have to be careful. Ye, who are the ye? Or you, as you will say today, Israel, are the salt of the earth. Ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, and but to be cast out and to be trodden under the foot of men. You want me to pause there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So everybody here is familiar with salt, whether it be the physical item, bath salts, road salt, chemistry, cooking. There's a ton of uses. There's toothpaste, bath products, cleaning agents, chemistry, lamps, agriculture, pools, melts snow, used in cooking and keeps vampires away if you believe in that. So, I was testing y'all. Hopefully y'all were listening. So, in general, physical salt, pretty valuable. So, when somebody makes a comparison of somebody to something that has a value, you could tell that that person has a lot of value in them because they're being compared to something else that's also valuable. That, like, you can't compare sticks and stones to rubies and diamonds. But if you're comparing somebody to something that's so valuable back in the day, then you could tell that there's something there. Is it the power? Is it a force? Is it a spirit?
Or a combination thereof?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in general, we could already determine that salt's used in a lot of things. It's valuable. So, based on that, let me just clarify it quick. Jesus is not God. End of the discussion. Jesus isn't God. He follows in the way of the Israelites. He believes in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He's not a God. We're not saying that he's going around, flying around, healing people, and loves everybody. Nowhere does it say that it loves everyone. You could go through the entire Bible, but it's not going to say that this God loves everybody. there's no blatant case of that. But I'm going on a tangent, so back to the salt. So we here, we're the salt of the earth today. So then let's take that statement and look at the title. Has the salt lost its flavor? What do you guys think? Today, has the salt lost its flavor?
Yeah, today. What would you say?
I would say to an extent.
Go ahead.
I would say to an extent it has lost its flavor because Jacob don't know that they're the salt of the earth. But the return ones, which is the Israelites, we are the salt at this point of the earth.
You made a good statement there because you said Jacob has lost its flavor, but Israel has not to some degree, right? That's good because now you brought up the difference between the children of Jacob and the children of Israel. And that's a whole nother lesson, I know.
Yeah.
But it is good that you brought it up that way. Okay? Go ahead.
So, has the salt lost its flavor? You want to try?
I have to be careful with my consumption of salt because it could affect my blood pressure. But I will say this, that salt is necessary for good health. It not only gives us that good health, because I notice sometimes you can get your joints seized up because there may not be enough, your muscle may not have enough salt in the system. But too much salt could be harmful as well. But that we're not here to determine
Yeah, we're not doctors.
how much
We're
or
not doctors.
how little. We're here to ask the question, has the salt lost its flavor? You must know who the salt really is. And I think Joab is hinting at that.
I think we could both agree that the salt here hasn't lost its flavor.
Right.
Now, you might be wondering how. There's times in the Bible, there was the 400 years, there's disobedience, and now we're just a small fraction of people. But last night, when I was researching this, I looked at something. It's called I think it's called the salt cycle, physically, right? And how this works is, salt comes from rocks, all right? Minerals in the rocks. Eventually, over time, when wind and water break them down, they become smaller things known as minerals. Now, those minerals, they dissolve into water. So when a lot of that dissolves into water, when a lot of that salt gets into that water, it might be a small puddle, it might be a big lake, but give it time, and eventually that becomes salty again. And it becomes so salty to the point that it forms again. It crystallizes again. Now, I was thinking when I first saw this, I was thinking, so does that include the impurities it has before? Because those are also being mixed into the water. But no, it comes back purer than before. And I have it here, so I have a comparison here. So we're going to go by compare to compare, all right? So rocks break down, minerals in the rocks break down. You could compare that to the first creation of the Israelites. It dissolves into water. You could compare that to our loss of culture in the 400 years. So it's gone, it's dissipated. But next is the salt focuses into water again. And who might have brought Israel back 40 years ago? Anyone want to answer? I'm going to start picking people out of the crowd. Louder?
Elder Shadrach.
Right. So what I'm hearing from Joab is we went through a process where we lost a little bit of our flavor, but then we regain, because what he's describing
I wouldn't say that we lost that flavor. I'd say that we got rid of the impurities.
Okay, well, that's a very, very positive way of looking at it. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Process. But I just want people to know we have to be open-minded here, and we can't, just because we're talking about Israel, be all a little biased. But we made a few mistakes.
That's true. Yeah.
And we suffered the consequences thereof, and we'll touch that later on. However, we've learned from those mistakes. That's the important point. And I think you're describing that in a very scientific way, right?
Yeah.
But what I like about what you're doing, Joab, is the fact that you are referring to the creation of salt. And the way you're putting it, I'm thinking of gold or diamonds. They all come from the same rock, from the same water. And they have to be extracted and used, and fire has to, do its part to make them to be purified, so that they get strong and resilient and they can last forever. But I don't want to go into that, but you continue, please.
So when the salt crystallizes again in this format, here we are again, purer than before. Although we may have lost a ton of it, like we may have lost a ton of our impurities, not that flavor, we're still here.
Yes.
The salt hasn't lost its flavor, we're still here.
Stronger than before, to some extent.
Yeah. So the moral of this comparison is that if it comes back purer than before, that means there were impurities before. Yes. And that's why the term "not all Israel" is Israel. It's an important statement, because although we could all say, you could say to some extent that if you say just very broadly that all black people are Israel, I guess you could say that. But it's a very broad term. You're just pooling a bunch of things.
And it's not accurate.
Yeah, that's called overgeneralization. That's where you say all teenagers are bad.
Yeah.
Here I am. Well, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but there's worse. But what it means is that if there's impurities before, and we're back now, then we went through this cycle, and we've become purer. And that's what I'm saying. It's when you look at the fundamentals of this metaphor, like the metaphor of salt and impurities and not all Israel, is like the thing about Israel is like all these things, they come in so nicely, because I'm sure somewhere through this lesson I could go off onto another topic. We already had the topic
Several
of
topics.
Israel and like
Yeah.
Israel just comes together so well. It meshes together so well.
I like it because, it reflects the wisdom of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And notice I said Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob because we went through that process as well. From Abram to Abraham to Isaac to Jacob to Israel, right? It's still the same family structure, but we're getting, I don't want to use the term better, each one of us had a mandate, right? It's almost like Abram had to generate Israel, and it took a while to get there. But now that we're there, let us do what is right. We had to go through a cleansing process that you were explaining right there. I like it.
So what I'd say, like during the 400 years, I would say that there's a deficiency of salt. Now, Friday, me and Elder Michael, we were at the library and we met up, right? And I was talking to him about this, right? And I think the word that we had for deficiency before, it was like a loss or loss of flavor or something like that. But we went back and forth. He wanted to keep it as loss of flavor. I was talking about deficiency, right? So we searched up the two meanings, right? A deficiency is it's there, but there's not enough. Loss means it's gone. Something that should be there isn't gone. So
The only thing is just to correct you there, I didn't say how much loss. So it could be a 5% or a 10%, but either way, we lost something because we had to pay a price for that deficiency. And that's what I was trying to get at. But the fact that we are here today, Joab and I, we are witnessing onto the Spirit of truth, tells you that flavor is not only back, but enhanced. Because, I'm a little bit older than him, maybe 5 years, but nevertheless, it's not just the old guys like myself, the old teenagers. We have the young guys too. And I like that. Different generations, but we see the same picture clearly. He probably sees a little bit more clear than I because his vision is better than mine. But nevertheless, we can still glorify the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, thanking him for the spirit of understanding. And let me just say this before I forget. When we talk about salt, I see the Spirit of God moving on the waters at the time of creation. But a lot of people don't recognize that water then is the same water today that is called ocean or the sea. And have you ever been there? Yes. Isn't it salty? Yes. There you go. When I go into the ocean, and I'm not the best swimmer, but I take the salt water with the sand and I scrub my body. I scrub my hands, my face, and everything. And then I take my jewelry and scrub it too with the sand. And with the salt, I'm not sure of the chemical composition, but everything gets clean and clear. It's beautiful. And I give thanks and praises to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Another thing about that old generations and stuff, like the older generation here, they didn't have this, so we get to see the mistakes that were made.
Right.
We get to see what the consequences were, so we know what will happen if we disobey. We have the instructions here. Like, at this point, how can you mess it up? It's not a challenge. It's not a challenge. I'm just saying, like, metaphorically, but like, we have the tutorial here, so what he's saying, like, older generations, they didn't know before, because some of them, maybe they didn't have the instructions before. Maybe they didn't have the laws. Maybe they didn't have the understanding. But now we have this book that could teach us that shows us that. So the newer the generation, I would say is there should be less issues, but that's what I'm saying. That's an opinion.
Well, the only thing I can say to that is the fact that I agree partially, but the thing about it is now the laws are written within your heart. You don't need the book anymore if you are at that stage of understanding, which very, very few people are. So they do need it. But the point I'm making here is that we went through a struggle back in the day. The adversary got the upper hand in some cases. We suffered the consequences thereof. But now we have learned from the past. Why? Because this was a spiritual warfare that we've been through. And we have the scars to show for it. But we are still standing strong. And we can still continue to glorify the God of Israel.
I believe we got a question waiting with a
Yes.
statement.
Yeah, no, I was just going to talk a little bit about, sorry. Yeah, okay, that's it. Sorry, I was going to talk a little bit about the salt aspect. You know, you guys are talking about the salt and how, you know, the body needs salt.
Yes.
It's critical, actually.
Yes.
The body
Yeah.
needs salt.
You can't live
When
without
salt-
it.
When you look at salt, the term is salt crystals. Because salt is of the God of Israel. So anything that was made, it's when you look at it under a microscope, how it's faceted and how it's formed, you know that it comes from a higher source. But the body needs salt. And when you look at salt, like in the winter, you know, I'm sure other areas that put salt on the ground, salt damages the ground. It just basically destroys it. It breaks up cement. But you look at it and you utilize that in your body, and it's something that's needed, medicinal, right? So it's interesting. Water is extremely important in the body. It's 70% of the body is water. But salt is also an important percentage for the body to have, even when you get older, right? So, good topic to talk about, because you see how it's a balance of how the God of Israel, God of Israel's people, and the salt of the earth, how everything combines. And I think it was Joab that talked about it being in sync, that's not the term you use, but anyways, right?
It meshes well together.
Exactly, merges all together. So great. Yeah, good point.
Thanks for that. But yeah, thank you for that. So, back to
It all has to do, though, with the wisdom of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because there's something that I know we started to read from Matthew 5, but I wanted to go on a little bit further, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because there's a very important point. He said that you, Israelites, and this was done in private, by the way, you are the salt of the earth. But then in verse 14, he said that in verse 13. But in 14 he said, ye are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth, which speaks to the creation of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But ye are the light of the world, which in my opinion speaks to the instructions of the Christ from the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to share that light with us so that now we could enlighten the world. It also speaks to the fact that the world is in
Darkness.
darkness. They need the light. So basically, the world cannot live or the world cannot survive without salt and without the light. Think about it. So he said, ye are the light of the world. And then he goes on to explain that a city that is set on the hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under the bushel, but on a candlestick, and is given. Can you see the wisdom here? Because we have the 7-branch candlestick. It's one candle with 7 branches. I'm not going to get into the details there, but just to let you know, that light, again, speaks to the wisdom of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I like to think that God created 3 great lights: the sun to rule by day, the moon to rule by night, and our Israelite nation to teach all nations that have the courage to seek the truth.
That's a pretty bold statement.
It is. It's not only bold, it's the truth. And when it comes to the truth, I don't shut away. I go straight to the heart, to the soul, I should say.
The 5th rib.
I passed the 5th rib. Joab knows a lot about the 5th rib, but it's okay. And he gets in the verse 16, he says, let your light, speaking again to the Israelites, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good works. And do what? Glorify your Father who is in heaven. So it's not about us, it's about our Father. This is the thing that a lot of people get wrong. They go out there, they try to make a lot of money, they try to make themselves look good, and they don't have a clue, let me just say it this way, what the hell they're doing.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh, well. There's 3 main things, 3 main elements I want to talk about mainly. That's salt, water, and light. They all have something very, very common with each other. And one is they all have some kind of comparison or connection to Israel.
And who is the one common denominator? Notice I said who and not what. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Say that again?
Who's the one common
No,
denominator?
what you said.
Oh,
They all have one thing
they all
in common.
they all have one thing connected towards Israel.
You're right. And that's what I like.
But the thing is, water, that's the first element, the first thing that was made of the earth, water. Light, it was used here. Light and salt, they were used hand in hand here in this comparison. Mm-hmm. So that's 3 things. But I want to go more into the water part of it, because something funny about the Bible is a lot of things end the way they start. So if you look at the example of Joseph in Egypt, right? I'm just going to say this very broadly, but we're going to go into it later. So after Joseph's generation passed, right, and the next Pharaoh came, apparently somehow that Pharaoh didn't know anything about the works of what Joseph did. So he wasn't too fond about the Israelites, right?
Which I find hard to believe, Joab, because this is Egypt, one of the most powerful and well-educated lands on the planet at that time. Why don't they know what happened just a few years earlier? But anyway, go on.
Yeah.
They lied, but go ahead.
But yeah, so this new Pharaoh knew about the power of the Israelites, right? So what did he try to do? He tried to get rid of them. He tried to kill them off, right? So what his plan was to just throw all of the male babies into the Nile River and let them drown. Funny enough, the way this ends is that same Pharaoh is chasing the Israelites through the Red Sea, and he drowns.
So somebody that had a connection with us was watching over and taking note, and through his, I don't want to say this in strange, into the Red Sea, his you know what, into the Red Sea. Fit your own description there.
But yeah, you can see how it ended the same way it started.
Right.
He tried to kill them by putting them in water, and then he died in water.
Exactly. So
But there's a lot more to the water than just, Pharaoh drowning in the Red Sea. But the Red Sea is also one of the saltiest bodies of water. So there's a connection, not really connected to Israel, if you want. But then again, the Red Sea kind of did save the Israelites, so you can connect it there.
you have to connect it.
Yeah.
You have to connect it. And you see, again, it speaks to the wisdom of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He could have moved them out of Egypt by any means necessary, but he chose that one. And even today, scholars have found the passage that they used, and they found bones and remnants on the ground in that water, right? So you have to ask you, why did he choose that path?
Yeah.
And Pharaoh thought that he could, get away with it, but no. And what I find fascinating too is the same water that allowed our foreparents to get through alive. That same water grabbed Pharaoh's throat and never let go. They choked the hell out of him. The water. Maybe because he was possessed with what do you call it?
Rage?
Huh?
Rage? Anger?
No. He was possessed with a demon, vampire. So the salt in the water grabbed. He didn't like that, so no, I'm just saying.
But I also want to continue. If you continue on with the story, then we get to the part where Moses goes up the mountain, right? Now, it's a very big group of Israel, right? But not all Israel here is Israel. It's a mixed group of them. So when Moses goes up, right, they get a little bit impatient, right? Because he's taken a long time up there. So this is where I lead to the impurities part, because Israel did have impurities. So, Alamaki, you want to tell me what they did while Moses was up on that mountain?
Well, I'm going to hold off on that, if
Not
you don't
yet?
mind. We'll come back to that one, hold that one, make a note of it, because I want you to understand that only the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob alone knows of the salt in the earth, because he made it. He is the chief engineer of all engineers. So he knew exactly how he structured the earth. And remember, as the elder said earlier, it's water, and as we just hinted, salted water, right? That is one of the foundations of the earth, and that people have to understand. And this whole process is continually declared or documented by his son, the Christ, also by the prophets, by our royal priesthood, by the apostles. They all provide suitable testimonies to stipulate this whole endeavor. What I mean by that is the stipulation regarding the salt of the earth was made by the Christ. You don't get any better than that. The Son of God, the only begotten Son. He is the one, as we read earlier, that said that you, Israel, you are the salt of the earth. The only begotten Son of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who created the heavens, as I said, who created the earth, and the first human. Salt reflects the wisdom of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It was blended with the water, like I said earlier, that surrounds the earth. It protects the earth then, right? And this same water, as I said before, is now called ocean or the sea. Christ was very exclusive to our Israelite royal family when he spoke, as we read earlier, that we are the salt of the earth. So there should be no confusion when it comes to who is the salt. He didn't say anything about Christianity. He didn't say anything about Islam, Judaism, or Freemasonry, or the Vatican. He said Israelites were the ones that were the salt of the earth. So that has to be understood. It has to be recognized. And we have to be very, very careful as Israelites as to what we do, what our mandate is. In other words, we have to showcase our flavor, right? Because as you know, I'm not sure how many of you are good cooks.
I think we got one right there.
We have one good cook?
Yeah. I think that's one of the many.
Oh, Julissa, nice. So you know that, let me ask a question here. When you take, I think Elder Jerry is also very good, so don't, yeah, he's one of the best.
I said one of many, see?
Yeah, but one of the many, but I'm saying he is very good, not the many, very good. Now, when you taste your cooking, do you taste the salt? Are you sure? I can see if Elder Harriet cooked, you can taste the salt right away. First thing, right? But when Elder Jerry does his soup, I don't taste the salt. I taste the flavor of the food, which includes the salt. But the salt doesn't stand out, you see? Because if the salt stands out, I've got to get water and add to that, whatever that is. You see what I'm saying? But without the salt, the flavor is not there. It is just that you have to be most people don't know. They know there's salt, but the salt doesn't stand out like that. Am I right? Okay, so that's the point I'm trying to make, but it is there, you see? And here's the situation with us. We are here on the earth, but it's only in the last couple of months, right, that the population on YouTube have understood, well, they haven't understood it, but they recognize that we, the children of slavery, the descendants of slavery, are the true Israelites on the planet. That the Khazars are not Israel. You see what I'm saying? But my elder Shadrach has been teaching us this for almost 50 years. Why did it take them so long? Is it because they couldn't appreciate the flavor of our salt? I don't know. That's just something. You know, Elder said that Jesus looked like me 50 years ago, right? He's probably, more handsome than I am, but that's okay. Nobody believed it. And then Putin said it 2 years ago, president of Russia. And now everyone is saying it. The Arab people are saying it. The Europeans are saying it. Everybody is saying it. Why is it that it takes them so long?
While I would talk about cooking, I might as well tell the small story that I had in high school. Might not be there yet.
Okay.
But in high school, I took a hospitality course, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is, during this course, there's one thing I'm not good at in cooking, and that's cracking the egg into glass without getting shells into it, right? So me and my friends, right, because we were working in a group here, and I think we were trying to make something like, I think it was mayo for something. I can't fully remember, it's been a while. But we were trying to make mayo, right, and they kept insisting for me to crack the egg, right? I'm telling, I'll do anything but that. So eventually I cracked the egg, and like 10 small shell pieces go into there. And we have like an hour of time in this class to try and catch up and stuff. So my friend, he starts individually picking out the egg things, right? And my other friend, right, which isn't the sharpest at all in any kind of manner, he has the salt, like the whole container, right? And he's kind of like pour it into the thing. And it's on a very steep angle. So he keeps pouring it, and I'm wondering, I'm looking at him like, I know something's bad's gonna happen. We already messed up the egg, so I might as well watch this happen. So he tips it, and it gets to that one angle, and like a huge slide of salt just falls into the mayo mix that we were making. And I just looked at him like, huh. So, what now? And he's holding it still. He's holding it like, he looks at me like he wants me to do something about it. Like, yeah.
You're correct. You're not a good cook.
Yeah. There's nothing to argue there. Yeah.
So what I'm saying, not what he's saying there, the world cannot live without our flavor. That's the key point. The world needs the flavor of Israel. Why? Because we represent the kingdom of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on earth. The kingdom of God on earth is the Israelite nation. You need to, and I'll prove this to you as well. I think Joab hinted at it earlier, but I'll come back to it later on, because the flavor of the salt is our purpose, our mandate, our purpose. And we have to understand, sorry?
Our identity?
It is more than just our identity. The salt is our identity, but the flavor has to do with our responsibility. There's where I was going. So we now have a job to do, to take that salt and share it with the rest of the world so that there's flavor, right? I when I was a boy, well, I don't want to say.
How long ago was that?
Yeah, that was a few years ago. But one of the things I learned a few years ago is that all the ladies' milk when they have a young child is not equal. Because our mothers back in the day, they used to feed, back in the days of slavery, they fed the Americans. In other words, if an American woman had a child, a European, she would call one of our grandparents or one of our parents to look after that child. And now remember, you see a similar pattern with Moses and Pharaoh's daughter, right? I mean, we did something else there too, but I'm not going to get into that one. But the point is, we breastfed them. And all the soldiers, or the men of the boys, I should say, of the United States and the military, they grew up strong and resilient. And they went out and conquered the world practically, right? When we stopped that, the whole process fell apart. The last time they won anything, if I'm wrong, was Vietnam. That was the last time they fought a battle.
You sure they won that?
Well, that's right. I don't think they won, but that's when our foreparents had stopped feeding them. You see, my question then is, why is it that they relied on the milk from our mothers and didn't have to use the mother of the child to breastfeed that child? We cooked for them and we fed them. They got strong and powerful. The same way that Joseph did what he did to the Egyptians, made them rich and powerful, we did the same to the Americans and the Europeans. But no one recognized it. You're not going to find that written in any books. You have to go and talk to your physician and so on and so forth. So we are the light of the earth. That's the world, sorry. That's what the Christ is saying. I want you to see the difference between the salt of the earth and the light of the world. The salt of the earth is the creation. And I'm going to prove to you later how that ties into the entire picture. But the light of the world now is the gift of the truth that was received by us. We have to share that because the world is in darkness and has to be enlightened. And the best way to enlighten the world is to illuminate the minds, illuminate the souls. How do you do that? You teach them according to the instructions of our Father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, they might not qualify to embrace everything we teach, but they still try. They still have certain things. We'll get into some more of that also. Go ahead.
Yeah. Wow. He was just popping off there, so I was just listening. But yeah, wow.
I get excited about these things, and I get carried away sometimes, so I have to learn to control, but it's not easy.
Well, better you do it than you don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if we're continuing on the after us being taken out of Egypt into the mountain, right? The wilderness, where Moses went out, some of the impurities, they show themselves. So if you guys would want to turn to Exodus 32, then we could read that through.
And again, try to see the spiritual warfare, the spiritual battle that is occurring at that time as well.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Exodus 32. This is right after they got through the water and into the wilderness.
Yeah. What verse?
First verse.
Okay.
Well, you want to start somewhere?
No, go ahead.
Okay. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down the mount, see, they're already getting impatient. You could hear it right off the bat. The people gathered around themselves together unto Aaron, and said unto him, Make us gods, which shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man that brought us out of the land of Egypt, we wot not. What is become of him?
See, what do you think of when you read something like that?
I mean,
What comes to your mind?
absurdity. It's absurd if you think about
Keep
it.
it simple.
Yeah, it's absurd because they not only did they
What
witness.
type of people? There you go. She said it. Black people. And not all black people, because we don't want to offend the Ethiopians, Somalians, and those. The children of slavery, right? They are the ones that they seem to lose all the qualities over simple things.
Yeah, like when you look at this, like it's absurd. They just witnessed what happened in Egypt.
Exactly.
Darkness, boils, fire coming from the sky, locusts, frogs, everything. They witnessed a sea open up, and they
Yes.
walked through, and now they're like, we don't want them. We don't want them.
Yeah. So
Like-
how is it then? How do the other people, the Khazars, for example, justify this?
You tell me?
I'm asking. I mean, it's rhetorical, but I'm asking because when I think of they claiming to be the people of the book, and I'm like, you guys are so disciplined. You want to share with them what we witnessed yesterday at the library?
Oh yeah.
See, I didn't even have to say what. He knows.
So yesterday when we were at the library, right, and we were finishing up, we were just talking, right, and we were looking at the library, and we saw this room, and there's like a bunch of, I think it was maybe Muslim people.
Muslim. About
Like-
almost 100 of them in the room.
No, like it was ridiculous. So I look over there, right, and I see them, and I say to Michael, what are they doing over there, right? And I say, it looks like they're praying or something,
praying.
right? So we continue talking as normal, and they finish up. They come out the room, right? They come out the room. 30 seconds go back. They're still coming out of the room. Minutes go by. There's still a bunch of them in the room, and they're still coming out. So I'm telling him, how many of there are in? Like, how many are in there? Like,
But you see, I'm not even worried about the number. What I like is the diligence of them. They know they got a call on their God at a specific time. They got their praying mats. They got their hats. What do you call those
the
things?
skull caps.
Some of them got the uniforms on, and at the precise time, they're all at a library.
Yeah, in the public library. Like,
Public
a
library.
Public library.
In a room. They dedicated that. And I've seen Khazars, when I used to, I was in Tampa, and you're traveling a lot, and I would see the Khazars fall down, put the black cubes on their head, wrap up their hands, and put their prayer mat at the airport, right? And worship and call. Well, I better not try to do it. But my point is, I respect and admire them for their due diligence.
I mean, the thing that got me confused is like, it wasn't even half the size of this room. Like, it was like much smaller than like, if you take half of this room,
Yeah,
and
there'd be 100 or
and then you
200.
half that half, I'd say maybe that's how big that room was. And there's like a ton of them in there. Like,
I
wow.
have never seen us do stuff. Well, thank God that you don't do it anywhere else but here, if you have to do it. But the fact that they are on point all the time speaks volumes for discipline. I admire that. Even though, we know, you and I and you all, that they're calling on, but they're worshiping their God. You see, that's all I would say. And leave it alone.
Yeah. But, wow, yeah. Back to, yeah.
Sorry,
back
but I
to
had
the,
to. But here we are, to do it to the point. The reason why I read that is because here, like you said, we saw all the miracles occurring.
yeah, like when
and
you
it
compare it,
didn't
like,
matter.
they didn't, I don't know if they see that God. I don't know if they have an idol or something, but I don't know. But they didn't witness any miracles. They didn't witness a sea open up into a path that they could walk through. And they're that obedient to that.
That discipline, yeah.
And then we got these people that just witnessed all of that, and then they say, no, we don't want him because he's taking too long.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just a quick comment. How serious they are about, whoever they're worshiping, right? Because, it's probably a part of the library's policy to provide a room for them, right?
It was because I inquired because I wanted a
Yeah.
room for Jesse and Joab and myself.
Yeah.
But they said that they were out of rooms, and they mentioned that one in particular.
Right. And you even have, institutions, even shelters, provide a room for indigenous shelter occupants to smudge and do their things. I forgot the term. of the room that they use to do, so there's so much dedication to these other philosophies, right? Because they're serious about their gods, and they want space, and they demand space. You know what I mean? So it really is it's quite,
It's impressive.
yeah. And the thing is, we know we're disciplined here. We have, we have our God that we serve, right? Because the thing is, they have their God that they're doing their thing for, right? We have our principles too, right? But it's almost as if we try to illuminate the world and want to proudly, in institutions, say, I don't know, well, number one, we won't be at work this week because it's our Passover. We're seen as different. We're seen as,
But there's a rationale for that, if I can come to their defense, because they're under another umbrella. They're Masons, right? And as a matter of fact, Freemasonry, they taught, a group of the Muslims taught the Christians about the Masonic structure in Egypt. And that's how they got into all this. So basically what I'm saying is that when you look at Freemasonry, you get a full picture of Christianity, Islam, Judaism, amongst others. That's where Chrislam comes in to play. So basically they worship the same God under different names on different days. Some worship him on Friday. Some worship him on the day of Saturn, called Saturn Day. And some worship him on the day of the sun, called Sunday. You see my point? And they all are in bed together, believe it or not. And that's fascinating.
On the topic of where it says like gods, and now that we're talking about like other religions, like if you search up right now how many gods there are in the world, it should say about 33 million. Now, I have this written in my notes specifically because I knew I wasn't memorizing all of this, but let me pull it up real quick. So, 33 gods.
I think that's a little low.
Oh, 33 million, sorry about that.
I think that's a little low.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
33 million, yeah, if you search it up, how many gods are in the world? Now, that's roughly the equivalent of the population of Ontario, Quebec, Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. That's roughly the population of how many gods there are.
Let me tell you one thing. Anyone has any US dollars, USD? Okay. Because what did it say? In God we trust. In God we trust. And what is the image in that? First you have the pyramid with the eye of Horus, right? But then you also have you ever seen the dollar sign? A snake on two poles, not just one, two. And everybody wants that snake. Everybody, okay? And if you don't believe me, if you find you have money at home with that imagery and you want to get rid of it, give me a call. I'll come and pick it up and take it away and dump it for you, okay? I'll get rid of it for you.
How exactly are you going to get rid of it?
Well, I'm not going to say how I'm going to get rid of it, but I have my ways, okay?
Huh.
But how many people know that the image of the dollar is a serpent on the pole? Very few people know that, but everybody wants one. It's the dirtiest and filthiest piece of equipment on the planet, but everybody wants it, okay? And I'm not saying I'm not, I wash my hands before and after. So that's why I can take care of yours for you if you want me to get rid of it.
Okay. We have about 45 minutes left, so let's get back on topic.
Okay.
So, Exodus 32.
We have a lot to go through.
We're still on verse 1.
You may want to skip a few of those
Yeah,
scriptures.
we might have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll skip a couple. So, in summary, what happened is they got impatient with Moses. And they're asking Aaron to take the golden earrings and stuff that they have and make a golden calf of them. Right?
Let me go to, can I go to another scripture? Are you finished with it?
No, I just got it. Yeah.
Take your time.
So, actually, yeah, you go ahead. Let me just get my stuff.
I was going to go and give you some biblical proof of what we're saying. Let's go to the book of Ephesians, for example. because I want you to see that, you know, the Christians have, remember earlier I was telling you, how do others feel when they read this book? How do they measure up to the events that are in this book? You see, whether it's in Egypt, the old Egypt, or the new Egypt, only we can measure up to those standards. And yet, they pretend to be us. And that is something that I could never understand, because they are far more disciplined than we are as a people, right? It's only here in the house of Israel that we have learned, thanks to the teaching of our elder Shadrach, how to be disciplined, how to be respectful and mindful of our history, our heritage, our culture, needless to say, our God. So I want to read the Christians, tell you or would teach you that they have what they call a replacement concept. I think they call it a replacement theology, whereby they said that we screwed up. Now they are the ones that have replaced us, and they are the ones now that are God's people. Now that's a big stinking lie. Okay, make sure of that. They said that the law is no longer, it's been done away with. Well, that's not what the scriptures say, because what the Christ said is when the heaven and the earth is no longer, then they can say anything they want. But
I don't think they're going to be around at that time.
well, it depends on where they are, because you see, you have the heaven, right, and they're at different levels, as you know. Then you have the earth. There's another place.
Oh.
There you go. Let's call it the underworld. That's what the Egyptians used to call it, the underworld. So there is, because they believe that after death they would live again.
Yeah, that's why they had their, in their coffins, they'd have like their gold and their jewelries and everything that's valuable to them.
Very true. And not only that, all their servants were killed at the death of the Pharaoh, because he believed that once the time comes for them to live again, you're going to need those servants again, right? Yeah, and that's what they did. So when that time comes, then the Christians will come out of the underworld and they will say, okay, there's no more earth, no more heaven. The law is done away with. Now we have free rule. But let's go to the book of Ephesians. I want to read this from Ephesians chapter 1. This is what I like to call the testimony of our brother Paul. I'm going to read the first 5 verses. It says, Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ by the will of God. Now we know he wasn't an apostle, but that's okay, because he's dealing with the Ephesians. Ephesus is a city in Asia Minor, which is Turkey. And that was the pathway to Greece and other places where paganism that came from Egypt was practiced. And then it went from Greece to all the way to the Vatican. But that's another chapter. It says, Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, by the will of God, to the saints. Who are the saints? Israelites, which are at Ephesus, and to the faithful in Christ Jesus. Grace be to you, and peace from God our Father, and from the Lord Jesus Christ. Blessed be the Lord and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who hath blessed us with spiritual blessings in heavenly places in Christ, or through Christ. 4.
Verse 4.
Accordingly as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob chose our Israelite nation before the foundation of the world. We have a big obligation and responsibility here to live up to. You see, it is almost like you're going to build a house, right? You don't go and buy the furniture first, right? You got to get the land. You have to make sure you got the mortgage, the proper
blueprints,
the
resources.
the resources to build this, right? Part of the resources is the Israelite nation. The God of Israel wants a people, a family, to represent him on earth, because he knew that something was going to get messed up. He knew that, as Elder said earlier, somebody was going to eat an apple. You had apple today, didn't you?
It was a pear.
Oh, pear, I'm sorry. Okay, my bad. But before the foundation of the earth, that is what the world, that is what I wanted you to see. He blessed us with spiritual blessings in heavenly places, right? So that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. He chose us. Here, verse 5, having predestinated us according to the adoption of children by Jesus Christ to himself. In other words, he has adopted us as his children. We have an obligation that is higher than anything that anyone could ever imagine on the face of this earth as a human being could fulfill. That is high. You are now the sons and daughters of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. As I was listening to our elders teaching this morning, and we were talking about the Christ being the head of the family, the head of the body of Christ, which is our Israelite nation. And I was thinking how the God of Israel has made man in a way that he is almost the image of the new temple, right? Here, this is why I like to call what we have done through the teaching and the hard work and effort of our elder as the New Jerusalem, because we have built a temple unto the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? A temple that is not of wood and stone, but of flesh and bone. This is what I like, flesh and bone. Every one of you here, and those of you that are part of this family in Cyberland, are the precious stones. The precious stones. Each one of us has a responsibility and obligation to stand up to live up to make sure that the praises and the glory of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob be manifested.
Yeah, I just want to point out for just people who are wondering, you might wonder, how does Ephesians 1:1-5 pertain to the topic of salt? It's right there.
Yes.
Right there, it shows where our main flavor comes from.
Before the
obligation that we have.
Of the world.
So we were predestined to be here. So this is the power and the responsibility that we've been given. This here is what makes up some of the salt.
Yes. And verse 5, I like that because Paul is saying here that we have not only adopted as children, but by the good, he says here, let me say, have adopted as children by Jesus Christ to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. Now, whenever I hear will, I think of one thing and one thing only: the everlasting covenant. Right? Because, as you know, a will does not become enforced until after someone passes. That is why the Christ was sacrificed. Right? Now, what I mean by that? Jesus died. Right? He was the sacrificial lamb. So now the will comes into effect. And he calls out the name. I can see the grand lawyer. Jesse, Joab, come forth. You see, he's given you a responsibility. You understand that you have to do according to the terms of the covenant, based on the skill set that he has blessed you with. That is what I like. That everlasting covenant has tremendous value that we should never, ever underestimate.
Yeah, I got my Exodus thing in order now. So since
Go ahead.
getting all of it would take a little bit too long, we're going to start at verse 19. Right? So just a little bit of context. They made the calf. They're dancing around it, whatever they're doing, dancing and prancing. And Moses is coming down from the mountain, right? So, verse 19, Exodus 32. And it came to pass, as soon as he came nigh unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing. And Moses' anger waxed hot, because he just spent the time that he has, the limited time that he has on the slave, to get the instructions for his people. He comes back and he already sees them disobeying before anything even started.
But who, as you know, like to dance a lot? You see my point? You see, I've never seen the Pope dance. I've never seen those Khazars leaders dance. The Muslims don't like music. I have read in the history book that Muhammad did not like music. Check it out. So they don't sing. I mean, they do this thing when they call to prayer, whatever. But anyway, they don't do music. So when it comes to music and dance, your people.
No argument there. Okay, continuing. So, and Moses' anger waxed hot, and he cast the tables out of his hand and brake them beneath the mount. So the rules that were just given to him, he just shattered them right there and then. Like, to him, there was no point of even bringing it down to them. Continuing. And he took the calf which they have made, and burned it in the fire, and ground it to the powder, and strawed it upon the water, and made the children of Israel drink it. And Moses said unto Aaron, What did these people unto thee, that thou hast brought them so great a sin upon them? And Aaron said, Let not the anger of my Lord wax hot. Thou knowest the people, that they are set on mischief. For they that said unto me, Make us gods, which we shall go before, as for this Moses the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we want not. What is become of him? And I said unto them, this is what it says here, not me saying. And I said unto them, Whosoever hath any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it me. And I cast it into the fire, and came out this calf. And when Moses saw the people that were naked, for Aaron had made them naked unto their shame amongst their enemies, and Moses stood in the gate of his camp and said, Who is on the Lord's side? Let him come unto me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves around towards him. Now, what's about to happen here is, well,
They have to take a choice, right? Pick
Yeah.
choices. Can I
So-
say one thing? Hold on,
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
a minute. Do you know that calf is still worshipped today? Yes. Or the image of it, I should say. Because how many people play the stock market? Have you seen the image of the stock market? It's the calf, right? And when the stock market is going up, what do they call it? Elder Jerry, you know this one? Huh? A bull market, yeah, a bullish market, right? When it's going down, it's a bear. You see? Now, have you heard the story about Europa?
what?
Europa was a Canaanite woman who allegedly, according to the allegory, swam all the way on the back of a bull from Babylon to the Mediterranean, all the way to Greece. And if you look at the EU emblem today, it's a woman on a bull. Now, I can go into this forever, but we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
But think about it, and you see how, as I said before, you have the image of the snake that is now the dollar, right? And you have the bull now, and it was from Europa, from which Europe, well, got its name. It's Europe, however you want to say it. And these are the same people, right? And don't forget, the Canaanites, they look like me. These are the same people that the slave owners will say, oh, well, God cursed Ham, and that's why we enslave you. It's a lie. It's a big stinking lie. And that shows that they're hypocrites. Because if God cursed Ham, why the hell are you embracing Europa, who was a Canaanite black woman, and that so-called bull that she rode all the way? And you know, no bulls swim. I used to raise sheep and goats and cows and everything. Bulls don't swim, okay? So they can't get all the way from Babylon to Greece and cross that water.
That's a pretty long swim.
I know. If it was just walking across the water, like I can understand that. That's disgusting. But all the Gentile Europeans believe that. They put it in the history books, and the rest of the world believe it, even though it's a lie. But that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Continuing. 27. And he said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Put every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from the gate to the gate, throughout the camp, and slay every man his brother, every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. And the children of Levi did accordingly to the word of Moses, and there fell of the people that day about 3,000.
You know
So-
why that is so important? Let me just say this quickly before you forget. I call that the situation where they've engaged in, with this golden calf. I call it a spiritual virus that has penetrated our Israelite family. We need to get rid of that virus, because if you don't get rid of that virus by getting rid of the people who are contaminated, then the rest of the family will be wiped out. And you don't just go, you suffer. And you fight against yourself. I call it fighting against your shadow. So they had to be wiped out one way or another.
Yeah. So the connection I'm making here is that even though they were brought out of Egypt, there were still impurities there.
You know why?
3,000 people of impurities.
Yeah.
And those ones, they had to get removed some way or another. So connecting this to the topic about salt, has the salt lost its flavor, and what we're talking about impurities here, I would say that right here, this is a clear witnessing of getting rid of impurities. Another witnessing could just be the 400 years. And I'm sure there's plenty of other parts in the Bible where it's the same thing. Israel having to get rid of, well, some of their own. Maybe it's not all their own, because in this it was a mixed multitude.
Exactly. And that shows that there were Egyptians involved, and they may have influenced us. And that's another thing. We allow ourselves to be influenced by other people's culture. To hell with them. You have your own culture. Walk your chosen path. Let those people do their own thing. Let them ask you, how did you succeed? You didn't follow us, right? I'll show you if you're interested. But I want to share with you the testimony of Moses. You can read it in Exodus 4, 22 and 23.
Yeah.
That confirms what Joab is saying with regards to who is the salt. And Moses said, and thou shalt say, this is what the God of Israel is instructing Moses, and thou shalt say unto Pharaoh.
Where is that? Where do you find
Exodus 4, 22 to 23. Thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. I say, and I say unto thee, let my son go, that he may serve me. And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn. So this is why we are identified as the salt, because the earth cannot exist without salt. So the God of Israel is telling Pharaoh, don't even think about it. Because you mess with me and you hurt my firstborn, I'm going to come after your firstborn. And what I'm going to do is not.
I don't think he's just
going
going to hurt it. I think he intended on killing that firstborn.
But
and
he did.
Yeah, he fulfilled
He
that.
wiped him out because they mess with us and they don't know what's coming.
Yeah, you know, another thing I was thinking when I was given this topic, it was, when I was given the topic, I was thinking, like, what other standpoints can you look at this? Like, one is when you have something salty, you get thirsty, all right? So there's another comparison of water. But again, there's another statement here in the Bible that talks about water. And you can find that in Psalms 42, verse 1 to 2, where it says, where David is talking about how he thirsts how his soul thirsts for the true and living God. If you don't like water, then we also have juice. I don't know if you, I just saw Auntie Shanna drinking some juice. So.
Yeah.
If you don't like water, we also have juice.
I know.
Do you like juice?
I prefer water, but it has to be pure water. Yeah. But I want to, before we get ahead, remember we touched on our impairment earlier?
Yeah.
So I wanted to give or clarify that situation so that everybody comes to the point that we have already made, that our previous affliction, or I should say afflictions, right, resulted from spiritual warfare. And despite the loss that we endure, the loss of flavor, temporary loss, I should say.
Impurities.
Well, okay. He said impurities, right? We still did well. So I agree with Joab in this case because it's more of an impurity, and it affects our flavor a little bit, smidgen.
Yeah,
right?
that's why you gotta get rid of it, so then it becomes
Right.
better.
And you mentioned Joseph earlier, so I just wanted to share with the audience how it impacted us. Joseph, even though he was suffering from all kinds of illegal behavior.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, let me just jump in on
Go
that.
ahead.
I'm probably going to be in mine. But so, like, even with him imprisoned falsely,
Yeah.
even with him, just one
For a crime he
Israelite-
didn't commit.
Yeah, just one Israelite alone was able to bring Egypt to the heights that it once stood at.
Yeah. Wealth
So
and
that's
power.
if that's just one,
Yeah.
then what's a whole group gonna do?
Right. And how did he do that? This was in his impairment period, short as it was. He was able to explain the dream. He interpreted the dream of Pharaoh. That dream, or the interpretation thereof, allowed Joseph then to become governor of Egypt and made Pharaoh and the Egyptians rich and powerful. We had the similar situation with Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon, right? Thank you. He interpreted the dream that even the Chaldeans could not interpret. And the Chaldeans are some of the highest voodoo priests and wizards and everything, but they couldn't touch it, right? Again, he was able to supply the information that they needed to stay strong. And at the same time, both of them, Daniel and Joseph, was able to help our people in their suffering.
Yeah, when you think about it, yeah, sorry to interrupt, but
No, go ahead.
when you think about it in Joseph's case, because what was going to happen was there's going to be a famine, right? So if
Which
Joseph
would destroy
if
Egypt.
Joseph wasn't there, then what would they know?
They'd be gone. And here's another one, and this is the last one I'll share with you. But the point I'm making here, always, is even in our demise, if you can call it that, where we have lost a little bit of our flavor, we're still strong. That's the point. All praises to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Esther, our sister Esther, she was able to help King Ahasuerus in Persia, right? She was able to expose the plans of Haman, right? And Haman was an Amalekite. Remember, God had told the Israelites in the days of Moses, wipe out the Amalekites, but they didn't do it. So now you see one after another popping up, and they're trying to hurt us again. But Esther was able to reveal that to, she and Mordecai, by the way, to King Ahasuerus, and help our people. And Purim is a celebration of her effort back then. Go ahead, please.
Peace. Okay, so just going back to the story of Joseph, what I love about that is that even though Joseph went through everything that he did, we have to realize that it was part of the grand plan, because he had to go through all of that so that at the end of the day, he was able to save the Israelites, right? Because there was a famine, and who benefited from it? Egypt did, but then also the Israelites did too, because his people came, or our people came.
I have to disagree with you on that.
Oh, okay. Go
Because
ahead.
you're taking it as if this had to be. Joseph could have said, you know what? The lady that accused him, he could have said, well, okay, I'll lie with you and put it, whatever. He didn't. You see, he ran away from her because he knew that because he had dreams about this thing before, and he wanted to appeal or to live up to the expectation of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Look, he could have done anything to get out of it, but he stayed. He didn't do what our forefathers did with the calf after they came out. You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, but what about the grand plan of it? Because I just feel like if all of those steps didn't happen, he wouldn't have been put in the position afterwards that he was in. So he said the dream, he got his positions, and then now he was able to
but remember
save the
what Elder
people.
said this morning.
Yeah.
Okay. The Christ said to the young man, he said, he gave him all the laws, statutes, and judgments. And the young man said, yeah, I've done that all my entire life. And then he said, but what, look, there's nothing new here. And what did the Christ say? He said, sell all your property and come with me. The same way the God of Israel said to Abraham, get rid of, kill your son and come with me. Abraham could have said, this is my firstborn. Sorry, I love you, God of Israel, but I can't do it. But yet he went ahead and did it. It is
Well,
easy.
he didn't kill him.
No, he didn't.
didn't kill
But you see, he was going to. He set it up.
Yeah.
And when the God of Israel saw his desire, his intention, the God of Israel said, you know what? This guy is greater than I thought. Let me back him away. And they protected him and gave him, the sheep or whatever to offer
it was
up.
a goat.
A
Well,
goat,
yeah.
whatever. You know, my point is, we are humans. We can say yes, we can say no, or we have other options because we have that ability. But when you do what is maybe the God of Israel, I'm not saying the God of Israel probably didn't know some of these things. I don't know what he thinks, or how he thinks, I should say. But my point is, when I see it coming from a human like me or you, I have to give him credit for obedience, for discipline, for wanting to serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is like, just going back to the terminology of how we're referred to the salt as the earth. It's a powerful terminology because Elder Michael was telling me yesterday how the word salary came from
That's
salt
right.
because salt was used as a payment.
That's right. Go ahead. Say it again for I was interrupted.
What he was saying was, he told me yesterday that the word salary came from the word salt because salt was used as a method of payment back in the day.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah.
Some people, they got paid in salt. You see, because I remember salt is a preservative. So if you live in, let's say, in a desert, you don't have a refrigerator, you could take one of those containers that are made of clay pots, put your meat in that clay pot, season it up with salt, and it'll protect it, maybe for 40 days, who knows? However, so you can still eat and feed yourself.
Like on that topic, a couple of weeks ago, I was shopping with my dad in like one of those like Jamaican stores, right? And I saw like it was cod, right? Like the fish, right? And it was like fully covered in salt. And I asked him like, why is that fully covered in salt? Like what is it? And he told me that it's used as a preservative also.
Right. Yeah. So that is.
And that was before I even got the lesson topic. So
it's preparation. Somebody knew something about you. So one other point I wanted to make, though, because we want to make sure that you understand the significance of the power of salt. Remember, we suffered 400 years of slavery in this new Egypt. 400 years of slavery, right, in the United States, from 1619 to 2019. And we temporarily lost a little bit of our flavor. However, we, as we said before, were able to make the United States and Europe, the United States of America and Europe, rich and powerful. They didn't pay us anything. We did all the work. We even improve or establish the health system. They use us as their experiments and so on and so forth, right? So what I'm saying here is rather than looking back on that, they would see that there's something special about these people. But they couldn't measure up to that level of understanding and appreciation. So they were more faithful of us, and they hate us more. It's like their inferiority complex grew wider and greater. So rather than saying, you guys, you did so much for us, no. Even today, they still harassing us, left, right, and center. All I'm saying is that power of the salt, the flavor that we manifest, is greater than we think. Never underestimate the wisdom of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
I was just making comparisons here about like the three main things because I'm mainly talking about salt, water, and light, right? If you look at these in their own way, light is connected to Israel, light, right? And you could also connect Israel and light to life. You could also connect water to life because it's one of the first essences. And as Elder said at the start, 70% of your body. Then you could connect salt to value, water, the Red Sea, Israel. It goes hand in hand. Israel has value, so does salt. Salt's real life abilities, you could say, it goes on food, it preserves things, it's good for your health. It's purity, it's seen as a symbol of purity. It's used in trade, even in sports. Because if you do like any heavy workouts after, when you're sweating and stuff, if you ever had that, if you ever tasted it, then it's salty. And if you just let it dry, then sometimes you could feel like salt crystals like forming up. Like you do this and it feels like sandy, like sandpaper. So all of these just connect hand in hand with Israel and the overall saying of how Israel is the salt of the world. Like there's so many connections to it that like it's a spider web of connections. Like it just goes hand in hand with everything.
And we're not saying this because we're boasting. We're saying this because the world in which we live is totally dark. And it seems as if men prefer the darkness to the light. They prefer the lie and deception to the truth. And as a result of that, they are not aware of the circumstances, the environment in which they live. They are being used. They are pawns in the game, but they don't know. We know that we were slaves because we got beat, we didn't get paid. They don't know that they are pawns in the game. They're even worse than we are because we were able to come out. Even while we were in that situation, what did we do? We sang the praises of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, what they call the Negro spirituals, right? The entire history and culture that is written in the Bible while we were enslaved. We built the platform, as I said earlier, of American prosperity and also European prosperity. And listen, it didn't stop there. I remembered when China owned about 20% of American debt. You know how much money that is? When I was a boy, the Chinese used to ride around in what they call a rickshaw. You ever heard the term rickshaw?
A what?
A rickshaw is a bicycle with a little cart on the back, so they can carry one person when the guy is pedaling. You know what the Chinese are carrying today? They are driving around in Rolls Royces made in China. Rolls Royces. And God knows they probably did better than the British did back in the day with that. Again, they own a lot of American debt. They have great value. And even today, that power is being manifested with President Xi. But remember, Xi, Trump, Bush, Putin, they're all part and parcel of the same Masonic club. I've got pictures of them. Well, Trump wasn't there then, it was Bush, right? But we know the situation. All I'm saying is that they all serve the same God and they do it with due diligence. And I respect and admire them for doing that, right? I wish we could do the same thing as a people, as descendants of slaves. Come home to the house of Israel. Learn about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What our elder has done, they need to benefit from and give him credit. A lot of people are using his information and not giving him any credit. Go ahead, please.
I like how you're putting that, Elder Michael, because when you look at it, I was thinking just now, when you look at going back to Egypt, when you spoke about Egypt earlier, once the firstborn was dead, Pharaoh went after the Israelites. No, you always, and this is one thing that you've taught that I'll always remember, we are so far ahead and we don't realize it. We look back, there's no one behind us,
That's
so we think
right.
we're behind, but we are so far ahead.
True.
You know, because of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. However, adding to that, once we leave Egypt, the economy went down because Pharaoh, like you said, he drowned in the Red Sea.
And
The
never
economy went
recovered.
down and never recovered. Now that spirit came, followed us to the Americas, which we are today. And now with that economy is going because we are here, again, the salt of the earth. So we're the backbone pretty much of everything wherever we go. And you can see how that nations are successful because of us. So now it's time for us, like you're saying, once we return to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, most of the Jacobites, man, it's going to be phenomenal for us. Because that's
Well,
what
that
we're
is
doing for our
why
country.
we're saying we are the light
Yes.
of the earth.
Yes.
And there is nothing that the light will not reveal. Maybe it will take time for some things, but it will happen sooner or later.
When you talk about how, like, even when we were in the 400 years and stuff, and we still remembered and realized that stuff, there's a small saying. It's a little bit confusing, so you have to follow along. And it says, real eyes realize real lies. It sounds confusing at first. But you want to go ahead? And
No, I got it.
Yeah.
Real eyes realize real lies. I would just say real eyes realize the lies. Same thing.
Yeah. It's the same thing, but like
Yes.
it's a small. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
But I guess I used to always think that, Jacobites, black folks, we are the salt of the earth. But I'm now thinking, is it really, especially how, we've pointed out the connection of how we preserve things, the importance really of salt and savor and favor and just, those components of it. is it actually us, the Israelites, that's the salt of the earth? Because we're so loved by the God of Israel. It's almost as if through his love for us, there's grace for the Jacobites. You know what I mean? So it's like,
And the Gentiles.
and the Gentiles. So it's like, are we really the one that's kind of like holding things up a little bit here on earth? You know what I mean? Are we, well, I know we are the salt of the earth, but are Jacobites included?
Well, that's a decision that the God of Israel will have to make. But that's why we are here, the house of Israel, because we are giving them notice that they're welcome here.
Yeah.
If they want to serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, if they want to seek the truth, if they want to do what they want to do on their own, we have nothing to do with that.
It's like you owning your car. If you get the warning light to change your oil, it's up to you to go and do something about it or ignore it and then foresee the consequences.
That's it.
So it's up to them.
Yeah.
Like, we could tell them we're not going to force anyone. It's up to them at the end of the day if they want to come here and learn.
And we have to recognize that we reflect the wisdom of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is not something that we do. Listen, elder doesn't get paid. I never get a penny here either, right? So he does it, and I don't know how to put this in a way that people can understand. When I will say that the God of Israel sent down the Christ, even the Christ went back and sent the Comforter, and the Spirit from the Comforter he breathed into Elder's nostrils the breath of life. And Elder shared that breath with us. And we now are under the same umbrella. We are one accord. You see what I'm saying? That breath is the Word of God, believe it or not. John 1, you'll see it. My point is that because we work together as a family with the Christ at the head, right? We are the body of Christ. That's the key. And we have to recognize that it's not about us. It's about Him, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because we share the light, or we share the truth, the light of the truth, either way, same thing, right? So that those that receive, that understand it, could fall on their face or hold hands with us and glorify our Father who is in heaven. It's not about us, it's about our Father. That's the key.
You know, I'm going to test you guys a little. Do you guys remember when we were talking about how this is a house of flesh and bones? Was anyone paying attention?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you guys
We
were.
built the temple.
Yeah.
This is like the New Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And we built the temple not of wood and stone, but of flesh and bone. That's what he's saying.
Now, another thing that you could say is, since with the light, right? Tell me, what's a lighthouse?
A lighthouse gives indication as to your challenges in the ocean.
If you search out,
They're warnings.
one of the meanings of lighthouse might pop up as a
Enlighten the
light
path.
that warns and guides boats
Yeah.
to safety.
In the ocean.
So here we are, a house with the light guiding people.
And
letting
the
people
ocean
know.
is
Dark, water.
water,
Salty.
but salted water. Gotcha.
I mean, there's a lot to like, what's
Yeah.
the ocean? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lighthouse because it's dark, because it's salty, because, I don't know. There's a lot. But when you look at this in a very like wide scale, like I could keep making comparisons for days. Like we could just compare this everything. But then that's gonna turn into a whole nother lesson. So
Yeah. So it's our job to bring forth the light and to share that light to the four corners of the earth. You know, I like what Elder Ander did with the Psalms and the Proverbs and things that people, they might listen to us, they listen to our elder, they might not comprehend his teaching like we do. But when the songs are playing, yes, they're not going to get the Psalms either because it's the same thing, right? It's the same spirit. But they like the music, they can, whatever. So it's another way of learning, another format of learning. And if you can stay away from the hip hop today, because the hip hop is not the one I grew up with. It is just so boring and dull, and it's dangerous to your soul.
I thought you said that you were young. Isn't that the same hip hop we listen to?
No, it's different. The one that I used to listen to, the R&B and the soul, there was music that you can relate to. You would listen to a song about a young man or a man and his wife or a man and his girlfriend, and they're having challenges, And you can learn as a teenager, how to manipulate your way through life, you know, when you reach that stage, right?
Yeah.
Today, it's all about drugs, sexual activity, money. It's boring. It's boring. But
It's funny you say that because.
and tell me if I'm wrong.
No. A couple of weeks ago, like, in my class, my gym class specifically, there's like these two like kids. Like, I don't know if you guys had this back in your day, but there's like obvious people that are like trying to be wannabe gangsters, or like, or they're acting like it or whatnot, right? And I was minding my business in gym class, and I could hear them like starting this rap, and it was exactly what he was just talking
There
about.
you go.
How, like, I'm listening like, this is ridiculous. What like what are they even talking about? Like, these guys are grade 10. Like,
And I
But
feel
yeah.
bad for the young people because I think they're more talented than we were back then because they have more at their fingertips than we did. But that talent is being abused. They're being taken advantage of, but they don't know that they're being taken advantage of. But we only have 5 minutes left, so I think it's time to conclude. And how do you want to conclude on this?
not just yet. I'll wait till a little bit later.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like I
I
said,
mean, unless you want me to talk for 5 minutes about my outro points, then we could go for that.
I mean, you only
Yeah.
got 5 minutes. Go for it.
So some of my like, what I like to do for my lessons is I like there to be at the end. There's like a takeaway point or something. So the takeaway points is that 1, salt is a symbol of purity and identity. Okay. When that flavor of salt starts to fade and lose its flavor, there's a deficiency of it. Okay, so when something's mixed in with that, if it's undersalted, right? Let's say I put it here, right? You can see there's a very little amount of water. If I put a lot in here, it's gonna be very salty. There's gonna be a lot of it, too much of it. Like you said earlier, too much salt is not a good thing, right? There's a balance in the middle, right? But then again, too little salt, if this was full and I wanted it to be salty for some strange reason, and I just went like that, there's not going to be anything. Like, there's too little. There's a deficiency then. You don't taste it.
So what I'm hearing then is it is not the salt, it's the flavor of the salt. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Because as I said before, and we still have one of the chief chefs here, Elder Jerry, you know, this when he makes that spectacular soup that he does, we cannot taste the salt, but we taste the flavor of the soup. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, I could have that soup every day. It is so good. Go ahead, please.
Just ask ChatGPT, right? What does salt do? It's essential for your body, but you only need a small amount. So can you imagine where the salt are they going?
Because it has a great flavor.
So we just need to give a little bit to people.
Yes, that's what we said earlier.
Yeah, just a little drop,
Yes,
and that's it.
I agree, 100%. And this is why we spread it out all over the world.
I mean, another thing is that when I said that salt is also a symbol of purity, it's also a symbol of our identity. Because here in the Bible, it says that we're the salt of the earth. You can find that in Matthew 5. Right there, it's in the Bible. And one of my second takeaway points is that Israelites are the salt. When we had rulers like Moses and David, the salt was clearly there. You could tell, like, it's there. You could see the good things that we do. You could see how powerful we become when we're there. But when we're disobedient, when we start wanting to be other things, and we start getting impurities, then that salt, again, starts to lose its flavor. When we're oppressed and things like that, then we start to lose our flavor.
I'm hearing a very strategic chemical reaction here, or chemical activity. So we both have salt, but if we are not under the umbrella of the fire, who is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that salt will not be activated. So it cannot be effective. When you can cook as much as you want, you're not going to get that true flavor. Am I correct?
Yeah. So my third takeaway point is, has the salt lost its flavor? No. The reason I say this is because our elder, which was just up here not too long ago, started this again 40 years ago. Remember that table, that comparison I made about salt? How when the rocks break down into minerals and it concentrates into a body of water, and when that water becomes so salty that it forms into crystals again, it becomes purer. That right there, our elder, is a part of that cycle. So,
And it just so happens that our elder is 70% water, just like us.
so we're living, breathing proof that the salt has not lost its flavor. We may have gotten rid of impurities. There may have been times where we did lose that flavor, but right now, right here, right now, I wouldn't say so.
Because
And-
we have built the temple of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not of flesh, the temple of flesh and bone, right?
And yes, and to end it all off, if you don't believe, all right, then look through this masterpiece of a dish right here, where you could find the salt sprinkled all throughout
Let
the
me show
Bible.
my name, because yours is hidden a little bit.
So the salt is sprinkled all throughout this dish, literally, if you want to take it that way.
Yeah.
Because we're the salt. This is the Bible's about us.
However, they can't teach from it. We are the only ones authorized to do that. Matthew 28, 19 and 20. They can read it, but then they have to come to us, and we will explain everything in there.
So my main point is that salt is a symbol of purity and our identity.
And I
We
say,
are the salt.
And I say that is also a symbol of truth and light.
We are the salt. Remember, when we had rulers like Moses and David, when we disobeyed and when we were suppressed, it wasn't really there. The salt is here today. I'm talking to you right now. I do want some water right now, but I got to skip. Actually, no, it's up
And
here.
you can take advantage of it if you know
Yep.
how to cook.
I'm
If you
good.
don't,
It's all right.
we will be happy to share the skills with you.
Elder Jerry, you're going to teach us how to cook, yeah?
Elder Jerry is going to do it. Yes. That
Yeah.
way you don't do it or underdo it. You have the right amount. Because remember, when you taste good food, right? What do you say? It's almost like they put their big toe in it. Am I correct?
What?
Or their foot in it, right?
No.
I remember there was a movie one time where the lady was crying as she was cooking. No one enjoyed that food. But then when she started to redo it, and she was happy and laughing, they kept asking for more and more
So-
and more.
So like Chris would say,
Yeah.
nothing tastes better than a home-cooked meal,
it depends on who's cooking it.
obviously.
Yes.
But this is our home. So
Oh, I like that.
most people here that I cook it, not me. I don't cook because of that hospitality. I'm joking. I'll learn eventually. But this here has salt sprinkled all throughout it. Not this salt. This salt.
And it just so happens that we, the Israelite nation, we are the master chefs. And with that, we say
Peace.
peace. Thank you for watching.